Let's have a conversation about the value and what we've learned about being married for nearly 18 years now.
Okay.
The first thing I want to start with is there are a number of married couples that have attempted to work together in a business, and what typically happens in those situations?
It's an impossible dynamic.
Right, that's a big one. I'd love to
Just
get
saying.
I'd love to get into what that actually means, but that's true. That really is true. Oftentimes it just never works.
No.
So in our marriage, it does work. We work together quite well. Where do you find the best assets of us working together as a married couple?
I like that you allow me the time and space to do what I need to do, and I allow you the time and space to do it. But when it's time to come together and work on individually, but together, we just elevate each other's work to a higher level.
Well, I've got 5 major lessons that I think is going to help people. But before we get into the lesson, let's break that down a little bit. When you first came into the company, you had spent, what was it, 25 years in broadcasting?
33.
33 years in broadcasting, okay. And so you had never done this before, but as we talk about our master plan that we had for Just Talk, speaking and coaching firm at the time, we wrote 4 special pages that were dedicated to just what you would do. And after about a month, we hadn't had any dialogue until maybe a month later, and I was looking to get a bit of an update, and you were not in a great place, and so we decided to go for a walk. And on the walk, we began to talk about, where you stood and why you hadn't really stepped off on any of those 4 pages. And you said to me, wait a minute, you don't get it. You said, we're not quite equal with this. I'm starting all over again. And
Yes.
What did I say to you?
You said, you're not starting over, you're starting again. But the thing is, he had been in business for 11 plus years. He had a list of clients. He could pick up the phone and say, hey, well, can I close this deal? Would you like an event? Would you like a workshop? I didn't have those relationships at that time on day one. So he built this contest, and I had just come out of the world of sales and contests, and I just retired from this stuff, and he's thinking he's inspiring me, and it really deflated and demoted me. I did not want another sales contest.
And we literally stopped walking. I said, wait a minute, stop. I didn't even want to keep walking. I want to make sure she was understood and that she knew that I understood her. When I said, you're not starting all over again, you're starting again. What's the difference, Lisa, between starting all over again and starting again?
Starting again, I take all of the talent, all of my Rolodex. I know that's a word that probably you don't know anymore, but your digital files of all of your
they're called iPhones.
clients, and you pick up where you left off. You call those clients, you can bring them over to Just Talk. It might take a little longer to nurture them, but they'll come over. They love you. They bought from you. They're going to follow you wherever you go.
I said, when we get home, we're going to take those 4 pages, and I literally tore them up. Here's a blank sheet of paper. You only place on that paper what you want to do. Everything else I'll continue doing, because I already was. So you design how you want to be in this company. You design your role. I'm not here to tell you that. You bring your best assets over, and let's see where that rolls. How did that work?
And that worked out well, because that was in my wheelhouse of where all of my gifts were, which was he didn't have any one sheets. He didn't have anything to market himself. He didn't have packages to offer people, to offer them annual contracts. So I immediately tripled the rates. And a year and a half later, we were making a lot more money than he was flying solo.
But we remove conflict from that, and that's where you really soared, when you didn't feel the conflict, when you knew there was no conflict, and you could find your zone.
Much like Julie and the micromanaging. Right?
Exactly, very, very much so. So let's talk about some of the lessons. Let me read this and let's share, because we want to help you with this. So we thought this, lesson number 1, communication breakdowns look the same, okay? And so oftentimes in marriage, people think you never listen to me. They think, and in business, my team doesn't hear me, right? Team, even if it's a team of 2. The pattern is identical, and there's a lot of assumptions and unspoken expectations that people use. We didn't do any of that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
So that lesson number 1, to stave off communication breakdowns, we have to learn to speak each other's language.
Well, I think where it really started was having house rules and biz rules, and you never cross the lines. So when we're at work, we have rules that we live by so that we know the boundaries that lie within, which I think a lot of companies could benefit from having these house agreements or biz rules.
Yeah, so basically what Lisa's saying is, in terms of the communication, to stave off communication breakdowns, let's tell the truth about what's going to be needed. So the house rules and biz rules or business rules, those are designed so that we respect each other's time, space, and energy. And that's what that does. So when you have a particular rule might be when Lisa wakes up in the morning, the first hour of coming around, she wants that time to herself. Let's don't get into business matters. Let's don't solve any problems. Give her a chance to come around.
Exactly.
And so that's a rule that I would never have known if we didn't have the conversation, because Lisa has a cover. She doesn't want you to know what she's feeling unless she wants you to know what she's feeling. So she puts the cover on. So I would have missed that.
Yeah.
I would have completely missed that. One of our business rules is, like, it's typically 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. If something comes up with a 911 with the client, move that client situation out of the space of the person that's living in our home so that they can continue living in our home, and you handle that in another space. That's a business rule.
Yeah.
So these sort of rules, and every 90 days we have a conversation to see, am I respecting your business rules? Are you respecting mine? You can even call them agreements. They're either agreements or rules.
Or if there's any you want to switch out because you know them so well, but you can never have more than 3.
Exactly. So very good. Lesson number 2, trust is earned through consistency. Tell us about that. If trust is earned through consistency, how do you get there?
You show up and you do what you say you're going to do so that there's no question about the integrity in what's being presented.
100%. And we consistently ensure, again, to speak each other's language, not just because I know what I'm thinking, but how do I know what you're thinking if I'm not speaking in the language that you need to hear it in?
That's where the color code, through how you leave them feeling, comes very handy. Because, for example, blues, emotional triggers teach you about yourself. Choose one trigger you can work on today. Blues, they feel intensely loyal. They use this awareness to navigate emotions effectively.
So in other words, what Lisa's speaking to on the color code, if you take the color code assessment, or when you take the assessment, it'll take you about 25 minutes to answer about 45 questions. Well, answer 45 questions. And your results will come out and give you a pie chart of the colors red, blue, yellow, and white. And your biggest piece of the pie, that is your core color or your main way of how you show up, your driving core motive. And your driving core motive is why you do what you do. So that's what that represents. So that's really good. So yeah, that has been absolute glue for our marriage, for sure, and our business.
And reds, just really quick, are motivated by the power of getting things done. Whites don't like conflict or confrontation. Inner peace is their driving core motive. And yellows, they're all about fun and being enthusiastic.
Absolutely. Let's roll to lesson number 3. Lesson number 3, conflict avoidance destroys relationships. Absolutely. So what do you think, just real briefly, in terms of conflict avoidance, I 100% that destroys a relationship. How do we work through not avoiding conflict?
Well, you know, talking about the color code, if it weren't for the color code, you thought that we were the same. You weren't even going to have me take it.
That's right.
So then I took it, and when you found out that I was a white, because you were coming at me like this, hey, can I get this? Can I do that? Well, that was forcing me to go within, which was conflict to me. But when you learned that one thing, it was a game changer in our relationship.
Yeah, and I think that healthy conflict is not going to break anything down. It's not going to destroy anything. I think healthy conflict is legitimate. When you have something that you believe, I want to hear your belief on it. And if I don't agree, I'm going to say, if that's the way you want to roll with it, you go ahead and roll with that. I would do that differently, or I believe differently. And you're okay with hearing what I believe, but you're going to do, unless what I'm saying is very convincing, not that I'm attempting to do that, you're going to do what you believe, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
We don't make an issue out of it if we don't have the same perspective on things. Mm-hmm. It's good. I prefer to have different perspectives on things instead of being the same all the time.
But you, on the other hand, a conflict, bring it. It doesn't scare him at all. Me, it's not my favorite.
No, and the reason why that is because I think conflict puts you, when you resolve those conflicts, that opens up and breaks up something open into the relationship that lets you vibrate at a whole different level.
Right.
How do people talk to us about how they don't even know us, and they see us sitting someplace, and they see us and they express what they're feeling about our energy?
They come up from behind us even when we're not even looking at them, and they'll say, wow, you guys have something special. How do you do that?
Unbelievable. Happens all the time. Lesson number 4, celebrating wins together creates momentum. That is one of our favorite things.
We celebrate little, bigs, whatever the win was, we make sure to celebrate them every day.
If you are not celebrating wins, you're setting yourself up for disappointment and failure and anxiety and depression when it may not even be necessary. It may not even be in the game for, but when you're celebrating those wins, it gives you something to look forward to. Am I right or not?
Well, it's just like gratitude, right? When you wake up every day and you write down a list of what you're grateful for, you get more of the energy you're putting out there. So when you celebrate the wins, you're putting more of the energy out there to celebrate things instead of just going on and on and on and treasury and treasury and treasury and work, work, work. Slow down, take time to smell the roses and the wins along the way.
And she's right, along with smelling the roses. Sometimes we'll do a gratitude session. We'll sit across from each other and we'll say, okay, let's set the clock for 5 minutes, write down what you're grateful for. And we're not trying to challenge one another to beat them in terms of the number, but
we're both competitive, so we kind of do.
Well, that will be her. I don't compete with other people, I compete with myself. I'm about my personal best. I mean, I care about her, but I don't care about whether I stomp her or she stomps me. I just care about, am I doing my personal best? But that's okay. So it's all good. I think that just puts us in a great space by being able to do that.
Well, and it builds morale. It's infectious, and I think that when we live from that place of that we're grateful and that we celebrate what we do, I think that's part of the infectious energy that people feel when they're around us.
100%, and not celebrating is you're leaving yourself out. Lesson number 5, growing together requires intentionality. Doesn't it? It does require that you're intentional if you're seeking to not just grow together, but add value to the other side.
Without intention or action, you get nothing.
Exactly. And you know what else happens along with getting nothing? Most people will end up doing the same things over and over and over and over.
And expecting a different result when they need to change the action that they're taking and be more intentional with it.
Because they're not being intentional, 100% right. Whereas when we're intentional, it lights the other person up. When you do something for me that I didn't expect or know you were going to do that helps me, I love it. When I do something for you, how's that leave you feeling? When I've done something that you didn't ask me to do that just supports you in some fashion.
Oh, you mean that thing called how you leave them feeling when you do all those special things that you do? Like last night I came home from taking care of some mother duties, and he had a nice candlelit bath with Epsom salt, baking soda, and some essential oils. And he just always knows those extra little added touches to leave me feeling great.
That wasn't the best part. That was a good part. The best part was when she got out and she dried off and put on her pajamas. She came in when she went to sit in her zero gravity chair. She pulled up the blanket that I put there for her, and there was a heated pad for her neck. She, oh, you did that too.
I did. He thinks of everything. That's why his signature is how you leave them feeling.
And so is yours. And intentionality is what supports that. Be intentional. Think about what's going to help that other person be in a better place because of something that you provide.
That's right.
At the end of the day, it's all about how you leave them feeling.